everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Play On podcast. This is the hurling edition where we review the first round of matches from the All-Ireland Hurling Championship of 2021. And the first game that me and Luke are going to look at is Clare against Waterford. So arguably the game of the weekend, the result of the weekend, Clare beating Waterford by 1 goal and 22 points to 21 points. A fantastic performance by Clare. Luke, what did you make of this game?
Yeah, I have to say, got this one wrong. I really thought Waterford kind of, with the way they were going this year, I thought they'd be better. And to be honest, they were just completely outclassed by Clare in the end, really. And probably was a 4-point hammering. So, great start for Clare, I suppose. And I suppose a lot of kind of questions from where Waterford go from here this year now. Kind of, I suppose we'll get into it more about injuries and stuff like that as well. But great start for Clare.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right when you say that it was a 4-point hammering for Waterford, because Clare actually hit 22 wides over the course of the match. So that shows just how on top they were. It shows how many chances that they had. One of the key decisions, in my opinion, throughout the game was Tony Kelly's positioning. He went into the full forward line, and we knew that Calum Lyons was going to pick him up, was going to man mark him. And he did. But the fact that Tony Kelly was in the full forward line meant that Calum Lyons then was in the full back line. And his attacking play had been such a huge weapon for Waterford the entire year, and indeed last year, that having him a fullback just completely neutralised his threat going forward, and Tony Kelly was still as dangerous as ever in the full forward line.
Yep, absolutely. And it wasn't changed until like about 15 minutes ago when Conor Gleeson went on Tony Kelly. But by then, I think Calum Lyons, his influence from the game, had kind of completely been taken away. So yeah, I think. But that's the thing, is that Clare certainly won the matchups as well. Like, you kind of look at, you talked already about the Tony Kelly positioning, but it was just those kind of details that Lohan seemed to kind of get the better of Liam Cahill, I suppose, at the weekend. But so I think once again, kind of Tony Kelly was absolutely imperious again. 5 points from play. He had the penalty. I suppose we can probably get into the penalty a little bit. Looked a little bit harsh, especially then when you factor in the black card too. I'd be curious what you think of that one.
Yeah, I saw it and I thought it was harsh. I thought, Shanahan was a bit off balance as well. There was contact, but, judging by the size of the punishment now, it's definitely harsh. You could argue that it was a penalty, but the black card as well is when you're talking about. That's a very harsh punishment for, not the most flagrant of fouls. And that definitely had an impact on the game. Waterford being a man down, it definitely had an impact on the game. He was gone for all of the time in the sin bin. Clare kind of, came to life in that stage. They hit 3 more points, and then obviously Tony Kelly's penalty was fantastic. And they were up by 113 to 7 points at the break. Waterford looked on the ropes. And the black guy definitely had an impact on that. I thought Waterford, they were poor enough right up until the last 10 minutes. Clare were excellent for 60 minutes. Waterford were very reliant on, moments of brilliance by Austin Gleeson and Bennett's free taking. And then in the last 10 minutes, Waterford had a real surge back into the game.
Yep, absolutely. And you just look at the kind of the scoring tallies from the Waterford starting forwards. Like, Clare absolutely shut them down up front. It's like the only names starting forward for the score from play was Stephen Bennett with 2 scores from play, and then the entire rest of the forwards didn't score. So I know there was a big kind of impact off the bench, but at that stage, kind of the game was already past them. So Clare would be absolutely delighted with how their defence played, particularly John Conlon again. That was the big spot, was that Waterford at centre-half forwards were completely outplayed, I thought, and Conlon just mopped up absolutely everything and was probably deserving man of the match winner in the end.
Yeah, definitely. And he's looked outstanding now, ever since his kind of shaky start at centre-half back. It's really become his position. And now, of course, Clare go into a Munster Semi Final against Tipperary. Now, they look in good shape. Aidan McCarthy looked brilliant again at the weekend there. No David McInerney, but still Dermot Ryan, stepped up in the half-back line, looked very good. Conan, as you mentioned. They go in now against a Tipperary side that, honestly, it's so hard to tell where Tipperary are at, judging off the league and last year's championship. It was kind of forgetful for Tipperary. The last time that they were memorable, really, in the championship was the year that they won it 2 years ago. How do you see this game going now? Because Clare, are coming into this with absolutely, fierce momentum, and Tipperary not so much.
Yeah, look, it's you summed it up perfectly there. Kind of Tipperary, it's always really, really hard to imagine where exactly they're at. But I do think that Clare are going to be Clare will be very quietly confident in their chances now at the weekend. I'd imagine, like you're looking at kind of the performance against Waterford, and if they can sort out kind of some of the issues about accuracy and stuff like that, and be a bit more clinical, get David McInerney back in start and stuff as well. I think they'll really fancy their chances of turning over Tip. They'll have a full championship 70 minutes under their belt as well, whereas Tip be coming in a bit kind of rusty, I suppose, coming in as well. So yeah, it's a huge opportunity for Clare, and you'd be brave enough to back against them, I suppose.
Okay, so Luke, that match very hard to call, but if you had to pick a winner now, would you go for Clare or would you go for Tipperary?
I probably would lean still towards Tipperary. I think that just when it comes down to championship, I expect Tipperary to be just probably that little level higher. I think they have a better 15 collection of 15 players than Clare right now, and yeah, if they can nullify Tony Kelly maybe by putting like a Brendan Maher or something on him, I think that I think Tip will come out narrowly on top.
I agree with what you're saying, but once again, I find myself disagreeing. I think Clare momentum is such a key thing in hurling, and momentum can carry a team so far. And I think that Clare now have serious momentum, and Tipperary are still a bit shaky. So I'm gonna go with Clare to get a surprise win against Tipperary. I think that that will set up for an exceptional Munster final between Limerick and Clare, and yeah, I'm going to go with Clare to get the job done here.
Yep. There's you're right about them this week with turning over Waterford and stuff as well. I just think Tip might be a different animal come championship. I wouldn't take too much kind of stock from the league. But yeah, it'll certainly be an interesting one. And both teams do know that they will have the comfort of a back door as well. So it will make interesting viewing at the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of the back door, Waterford go into it. Do you see them still being a force in the championship now?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one because the other thing we weren't kind of prepared for was Jamie Barron's absence as well. So he didn't play either. So Prunty will be back. Jamie Barron probably will be back in soon enough as well. And they just with the amount of injuries that they've had there, if they can get fellas back fit, they will obviously be better contenders and stuff like that, and they can play fellas kind of in their preferred positions, I suppose, as well. And Cahill Lyons wouldn't have had to gone out to back into fullback and everything as well. Then Austin Gleeson ends up wing back. So the whole thing just kind of had a detrimental effect, and they still only kind of lost by 2 scores. So it's I think if they get a favourable enough draw on the back door and build up a bit of momentum, I still think they could be contenders, all right. But yeah, they do need to get fellas back in.
Yeah, definitely. So that is our coverage of the Waterford versus Clare game, guys. We'll move on and we'll come back with Dublin versus Antrim.